Hi again, it's Jack from Australia. This is my fourth video. Not a pro yet, but getting more used to it. The topic is gaining freedom from destructive thinking. And I'm going to start including some techniques which will carry on to future videos on how that can happen. The first thing is to make the choice that I don't want to be a prisoner of my destructive thinking. And making that decision is a start, but it doesn't all disappear right away. So there has to be some really disciplined practice before it becomes natural not to go to that destructive thinking. Now remember from my last video, which was about happiness, both happiness and suffering are a choice, I mentioned that 90% of thoughts, basically, generally, are about two things: judging and trying to control. And neither of those lead to freedom, because we're judging it based on our past experiences, good and bad, our conditioning, and just the general consciousness of the human species on the planet at this time. And all those are prone to lead us to live from trying to make the past better, redo the past, make the future the way we want it. And we end up not living in the present with the freedom just to be in it. So we had to start with the first thing is attaining an awareness. And a way to do that is called witness consciousness. To be aware, what's going on? What are my thoughts? What are my feelings? What are my senses telling me? What am I trying to control? What am I bringing back a preference that I want here and I don't want here in this moment? And so that's being aware of all those things and observing them. So it becomes separate from them. Now you'll notice that when you start doing this, it's kind of fun and it's good to just practice it. And one way to do that is every time you transition from one activity to another, do a quick assessment. What are my thoughts? What are my feelings? Am I open? Am I closed? And if I'm not, do a quick correction. And that can be as simple as a couple deep breaths. Now, if it's more serious, then one of the other techniques would be better. And I'll give you a couple more right now. So at that point, you're starting to get the practice of, am I centered? Am I just peaceful? Can I be present in this moment without bringing the past? And it's interesting to see how often we really aren't present. I mean, we are, but we aren't really present in our awareness because we're thinking about, what should I say after that person stops talking? How do I want this to be different? I don't like this. I like this. All that stuff's going on, that chatter. But that's not really who we are. And we can gain freedom from that if we're committed to do it. So the first step is witness consciousness. And from there, there's many, many different techniques. Again, I keep repeating this, but find the ones that work for you. And I'm going to give you another one that's really powerful. And it's somewhat similar to what I did before, that 4-step process of facing, accepting, floating, and letting time pass. It's similar, but a little different. And one might work better for you, and you might find one easier and more fun. So consider that. Now, before I provide that, I want to mention on my website, caterpillar-effect.com, I put up a blog recently that's entitled "The Mind is the Cause of All Suffering." And that provides a little more detail on what I'm talking about, why we suffer. We don't suffer because of an event. We suffer because how we interpret the event. It shouldn't happen. I don't want it, or I want it to last longer, and all those type of things. So look at that blog if you're interested. And the other talks I'm doing will also be up there written. So they'll be slightly different than what I say, or very different possibly. And you'll get a trend and follow that. If you miss a talk or something, you can then look there and see the progression of how this works. Because this is a process. Freedom doesn't come quickly. But if we're committed, it definitely comes. So I want to present a technique. And it's from the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. A really great book. And it has, the way I describe it, it has 5 steps. The first one is when something upsets you, when you're triggered, instantly relax, take a deep breath, just, relax your neck muscles, because that's where we start. And just do that quickly. And then lean away from the thoughts. Now that sounds silly. How do you lean away from the thoughts? Well, you just lean away from the thoughts. You can lean away from a chair. You can lean away from a person. You can lean away from the thoughts, because they aren't you. And remember, these thoughts, we think they're ours, but they're not. The thoughts really are from the consciousness, from our conditioning, and they come to us. And we didn't choose them. Think how many times a thought's just there. You didn't go out and get it. It just comes. So they're not really our thoughts. The ones that are our thoughts are the ones we consciously control. Like I might want to count to 10, so I could do that. But other ones come just because of the conditioning and things that happen in my life. And all of a sudden the thought shows up. I don't like this. I don't like that person. I like this. So there is a choice not to believe the thoughts and also not to believe the beliefs, because they're really not ours, and they're all recycled. They've been around for eons. So once you're there, lean away from the thoughts. And the third is the most important one. You're away from the thoughts, but the feelings. Fully embrace the feelings. That means open your heart, and it might hurt, and allow it to hurt. Allow it to pass. And it might take a while. And sometimes you won't have the time to let that fully happen. So you might want to later go back and rethink about it and feel it. If you're at work and your boss yells at you, not a good time to do a 10-minute break, because he's right in front of you or her. So, but as much as you can, feel it fully. And you'll notice that when you feel it fully, it goes and you're free from it. And you don't add to a past pattern, which would be called a blockage, that makes it bigger. So you're triggered easier. So feel it fully. The next one is just do a quick meditation. And I mean by meditation, in this case, it would just be focused breathing, and just to recenter yourself after going through that feeling thing. And then just let it all go and get back to whatever's going on. And if you practice this regularly, you will find it really works. And when it doesn't work, and sometimes it doesn't, because you might really hit one, then do the process on it not working. And so, because otherwise you can get back into a state of, I've done all this work and I'm right back to where I was, but you're not. And that's really important to know that. And one way to do that is to benchmark. How would have I dealt with this, a week ago, a year ago? And if you benchmark it, your ego mind won't convince you that you haven't gained anything, because that's what it wants to do, but it isn't true. So think about doing that. Now, there's other things that are really helpful here. And one that is almost always part of this process of gaining freedom is meditation. I'll talk about this in my next talk, but I just want to say, why meditation? Because meditation develops the ability to go into stillness and separate from thoughts and feelings. And it's really important to do that. And meditation can be very quick. It can, you'll read about people who meditate for 24 hours. Don't try to do that. It's not necessary, but make it a practice. And we'll talk about that on the next time. And one other thing that you can find that is useful is journaling. And what should you journal? Well, one thing really is good to journal is when you start having those crazy thoughts, write them down. Because when you write them down and look at them, you know that you don't want them. But if they're just in your head, it's not that easy to separate. Once you write them down, it's a lot easier to separate. And I also suggest that you journal gratitude and forgiveness. And I'll talk about those more in other talks. But think about that. And the most important thing of what I'm sharing is, do you want to have freedom from the craziness when your mind, is being very destructive to you and can lead to be destruction to those you care about and those around you? So pretty much that's what I have to share today. And I want to conclude with a few thoughts. Again, let me know if you found this useful and share it with others if you did. Provide me comments and we can start a dialogue, interacting. Also, if you have any questions you'd like me to address related to my talks, give them to me and I'll cover those later on. So that's about it for today. Again, I'll remind you, you can subscribe, and this time I'll add, click on the notification bell, and then you will be notified when I put up another talk. So again, my website is caterpillar-effect.com, and it's good to do this with you. So thanks, and I'll see you next time.